My name is Praedyth, and I was a member of Kabir's fire team. I just hope someone good.
We can hear you, Praedyth, especially with our nice new mics and sound equipment. We're back. This is Praedyth's Party Chat. We know it's been a while. I'm Ethan.
And I'm Taylor.
Thanks for tuning in. Sorry we've been gone for so long. Our lives were just crazy busy.
Oh, yeah, it's been nuts. I mean, I think you said we haven't recorded since what, Shadowkeep?
Yeah, before
and
Shadowkeep.
So, so after we post this one, we'll see you guys in 365 days because we're not going to post again for another year.
Thankfully, because we got this new setup and everything like that, that is not the case.
No.
Obviously, that's sarcasm. I'm just for those out there who don't understand it, we might as well make it clear as possible that we're trying to jump on top of this and basically make this a consistent thing going forward, and even adding a little more stuff to our channel. Yeah, absolutely. As we go.
And we want to be more consistent. Like starting with this one, this is kind of like a soft relaunch of the Praedyth's Party Chat YouTube experience. So we're excited to have some new stuff to show you guys. We're excited about it. Yeah.
I think one of the biggest things that made us feel like we wanted to jump in here was this kind of feels like the time in Destiny 2's life that Beyond Light is coming out. Yeah. And it feels like we're finally on that kind of pinnacle of what Destiny has always been trying to become.
We're on the precipice.
Back to it.
Yeah, we're totally getting there now. I mean, especially with, all the new stuff that they're adding in Beyond Light.
Right.
And so I think we can start to see, holy crap, this is the picture that Bungie has always wanted to paint with Destiny, and I think this is the very first step of it.
Right.
All right, so that brings us right into kind of talking about
Today's topic.
Beyond Light, which is what we want to talk about today. And let's start with just story and what you're excited and what you're hoping to see from the story this time around with Beyond Light. So, Ethan, why don't you just lead us with that?
I think the big thing that we all know is this feels like the pinnacle of what Destiny's story can achieve in terms of the villain, in terms of the characters, in terms of who we're seeing from this. I think this is the road that we've always been on. We always talk about how Destiny's building to something, and it really felt like it was kind of on a wave, like go up and down. But I feel like since Shadowkeep, it's been kind of this direction, towards the darkness, towards the pyramid ships, taking what we've been waiting to see since those early days of the concept art of both Europa and the pyramid ships concept art that we saw before Destiny came out.
Right, totally.
And
that's all concept art from Destiny 1. I mean, Europa is a destination we've always wanted to go to.
Right. And I think Shadowkeep, a lot of people talked about how it was the reboot, the place where Destiny was becoming Bungie's kid, But it wasn't really, in my opinion.
I don't think so either.
It was a step towards it, and it was an establishment. It was good faith, is what it was. Mm-hmm. We're basically here. We're taking you back to the moon. We're reinvigorating it. We are adding in a bunch of new ideas and concepts. We're revamping the armor system to look like it was in Destiny 1.
There's going to be new mods, too. Like they've done a lot with mods in these seasons that we've had.
Yep. I think a little too much in some cases. We'll get to that a little later. But Shadowkeep, I think, was an example of what Destiny knows how to do right and Bungie knows how to do right when they're just doing fan service. Like, okay, we're going back to the baseline. Right. But this last year has kind of built towards, all right, like Luke Smith said, she's back. She's got time to explain.
Right, and that leads perfectly into what I want to talk about with the story and what I'm hoping for. So they're bringing back, like, Varix, which is a huge, like, Destiny fan service. Everybody's been like, where's Varix? Like, especially since he led indirectly to, like, the death of Cade. Yeah. With letting everyone out and letting Uldren out and everything. So I think we're all excited to see if there's going to be any fallout in the story there. Right. With Varix and Cade's story. But the Stranger is my favorite character from Destiny's lore and from all time. Like, I love Elsie Bray, which has been confirmed that the Stranger is Elsie Bray. So that's super exciting. Just even that. And so I'm really looking forward to what they're going to do with the story, especially with, like, the collector's edition lore that's come out, which is kind of what I want to move into talking about next is, like, Clovis Bray. Yeah. Crazy. Alive? Some of that lore is wild. It's just nuts. That lore book, that like 43-page. By the way, they do a great job of collector's editions for their expansions. Oh, like, always. Yeah, and I think this lore book is just right up there with some of the best lore in the game, just like the lore from the Taken King. Yeah. Yeah. Like, I think it's that good. It is. It's absolutely that good. In some cases, I'd say it's even better. I mean,
I think a lot of people hold the Taken King, rightfully so, as the Destiny expansion.
I agree.
It defines what Destiny meant to a lot of people. But I think Beyond Light can trump it. I think it has the chance.
Yeah, I think the potential is there for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, we all looked at Forsaken and we were like, wow, this is near Taken King levels. But in terms of, it was fun and it was interesting and it was exciting.
Right, but Forsaken was just returning us to Destiny 1, basically.
Right.
Like with the weapon system and all
Right.
that stuff. It wasn't a step forward anywhere. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think, and that's exactly what I was getting at. Is like even the story, like obviously killing Cade is a huge step.
Yeah,
like,
huge.
That's a huge foundational step. But I think what you're saying, like Forsaken felt more like a surface level side story.
Kind of, yeah.
At least the main portion of it.
Right.
Once we move into the Dreaming City, things become a little more connected.
Right.
But if you look at the fundamental story of going over here, Aldrin, like this kind of Western themed
Yeah.
takedown story, it definitely feels like it was just a way to usher in new ideas.
You're right, and I think you're right in that it didn't have anything to do with like the overarching story of
Right.
the darkness versus the light.
Mhm.
That really didn't tie in until we got to the Dreaming City, and we kind of had the Savathûn connection with
Right.
Riven, which
Which isn't even really the darkness.
exactly.
Yeah.
And we're finding out, with Season of Arrivals and the lore that they brought there was like Savathûn might actually be trying to find a way to surpass the darkness in a
Right.
lot of ways, and the darkness doesn't really see her as a threat or
Right.
really anything.
She's deceiving it. She's
Yeah,
disappearing
exactly.
from its sight.
Exactly.
And you look at something like Oryx was constantly trying to dominate, beat out other people.
Right. Sword
And-
logic was his thing.
Right.
Mhm.
Right. And so he wasn't really part of the darkness either. I think this is a good what they've done well with Shadowkeep and Beyond is they've separated the Hive from the darkness. I think a lot of people
Yeah.
associated them with that because of the Moth Gods, because of the deep.
I think they have done a really good job of separating those two, because everyone originally thought like the Hive is inextricably tied to the darkness. But now it's like, especially with the ending of the cool ending to this season's lore
Yeah.
story with
Yeah.
Nokris, where you go into that room and they're all kind of bowing to the darkness.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that does a really good job of visually telling people that, the Hive is as a separate thing. The Vex, I think, is its own entity. They're not necessarily, they're just concerned with the pattern,
Right.
right? In the lore, they're only just concerned with the pattern. And so the darkness doesn't really fit into that. And if
Mhm.
it does, great. If it doesn't, they're just going to push it by the wayside.
Well, because the only thing that the Vex really care about is their survival, their existence.
exactly.
And so, yeah, the fact that the darkness is something that could potentially destroy them eventually.
Right. So maybe you could see that, but
Right. But so they're not interested in that. But as of right now, as we saw in the end of Destiny 1 story, which is starting to come back into play a little bit, and we saw a little bit of that even in the previous raid.
Yeah.
Which is that they basically do whatever it takes logically
right.
to survive.
Right.
And the scary part of the end of Destiny 1, even how convoluted that story was, one thing you can glean from it is that they bowed to the darkness and they chose religion
Totally.
as the most logical thing to do, which
Right.
is a scary thing, that
Which is
basically
scary.
something is so worth worshiping that it's completely logical. There's nothing illogical about
totally,
it because
yeah.
the Vex are perfectly that way.
Yeah.
That's an interesting idea, and I think that'll actually play in Lightfall. I mean, that's jumping ahead.
Yeah.
But looking at things like Beyond Light, we're focusing on how the first race we're going to see interact with the darkness is the Fallen.
Right.
And I think the next season is going to be about what is Savathûn's interest in the darkness, what is her opinion of the darkness, and then
Right.
I think what we have left is the Vex.
Could be.
Because
Yeah,
I think
could
the
totally see it
Cabal-
going that way. I think the Cabal actually end up being our allies with the like,
Right.
little sneak peeks that they've given us of
Right.
Zavala and Osiris kind of talking to the Cabal, and they're like, what
Yeah.
the heck's going on there? So I think they could become an ally as long
Mhm.
I think even, Mithrax and all those are, or Mithrax, whatever. Mithrax, he could end up being an ally too. So I think the
Right.
Cabal and the Fallen could end up being allies, and then we end up really just kind of fighting the Hive and the Taken, and maybe they do like a darkness subclass.
Right.
I mean, not a darkness subclass, like a darkness enemy. I don't
Yeah.
know. There's always concept
That-
art that
that's-
people talk about.
That's what I'm curious about, because
Mhm.
a lot of people say, back in the day they had those 4 panels where basically
Yeah.
you saw those different ones,
Yeah,
and that
yeah.
last one was like that shade with the triangle ships.
Right.
I don't think that's them.
Yeah,
My
I don't-
opinion
yeah.
has always been that was an early conceptualization of the
Yeah.
Taken.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Totally.
they used to be associated with the darkness directly, but I think
Right,
they've kind of
right.
leaned away from that and made the Taken power more like something the Hive stole from the darkness.
Right. It's like their perversion of it.
which eventually will lead us into what we want to talk about. I mean, do
Right.
we want to just jump to that now?
Well, I actually want to talk about stasis. Let's
talk about stasis.
Let's
So,
talk about like
yeah,
and the potential for
for
more
future
darkness
classes
subclasses,
that are
right? So-
associated with things like
Yeah,
taking and things
absolutely.
like that.
So stasis subclasses I think look really cool.
Yeah.
Like, and it makes sense that they're adding a new element too. So it's interesting that we're gonna get a new element, which they haven't really talked about, like how like shield breaking works with stasis
Right.
or anything like that. Because I'm wondering if there's actually a different interaction with the way shields break
yeah,
when you have a stasis weapon.
I'm
Do
wondering.
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm
Do they
wondering
have a
if
slowing effect
yeah,
when they shoot? I don't know. They
Well,
haven't
see-
even addressed that, which is so weird that nobody even cares about that. But
Right.
I care in PvP. Like, if I have a hand cannon that's a stasis element, is it gonna slow my guardian, like the guardian down that it hits?
yeah.
I'm just wondering.
Well, because I think one thing we have to remember here is that elements, when they're associated with things like weapons, don't necessarily impact what that weapon does to the other person unless it's associated with an exotic.
True. Yeah, because I guess the only examples I can think of are like Sunshot
Yeah.
and Thorn, right?
Mhm.
So Thorn adds like a decay or
Right.
a poisoning effect.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I see.
Where
what you're
it's
saying.
like
Mhm.
it's like those things burn and stuff like that because of what they have on there. But when you look at something like a weapon that's arc versus void, it just breaks a shield differently and does
True.
better against a super that is
Totally,
that one,
totally, yeah.
that's associated with that. One thing I think that we might see that might be kind of cool is that I think that they're not going to overcomplicate things, because we're going to keep, I think we're going to keep red, blue, and we're going to keep purple, or yeah, red, blue, and purple are our three shield types basically in terms of color.
Sure.
And so they're going to simplify it, where I think stasis might do well against arc shields,
Oh,
but when
interesting.
it explodes, when you break that shield, I think it's going to freeze enemies around it.
Hmm.
So when you break a shield with
Yeah.
stasis,
Yeah, she's
it,
like
do-
maybe
it
little
doesn't
ice
do
crystals or
damage. It
something.
just freezes them.
Yeah. Okay.
Or
Makes
applies a
sense.
slow.
Yeah, it's like a
something
difference. Yeah, okay. It maybe freezes them or stuns them for a second or two.
Right.
Okay. I could see that. I mean, I have no idea, but the stasis subclasses, all of it looks really cool, and I'm excited to tinker around with them.
Yeah.
But we mainly want to talk about like how Luke Smith brought up in that Twitch interview that he was, he's like, yeah, he basically confirmed that like we're gonna have more darkness subclasses. I mean, it's plural when you
Right.
hover over it in your character screen for a reason. And so, Ethan and I have talked a lot about like on Reddit. There's this really cool guy who posted a bunch of stuff for Decay, which he thinks could be a darkness subclass, which I totally agree. I think Decay might be where they're headed with Savathun. And if they're doing that, they're already working on it. And so
Right.
they're probably already in the midst of figuring out what that subclass would be. And we're really not interested in like retreading ground that someone has already kind of covered. And there's a lot of people who have Decay or Poison or whatever ideas. Ethan and I were actually more concerned with what comes after that.
Yeah.
Like, what might we get in Lightfall?
Exactly. What's happening in Lightfall? And that brings us what we were just talking about earlier when we kind of started to stray into it with the Hive stealing that taken power from the darkness.
Right.
If we're talking about darkness subclasses, something that could be really interesting that we've discussed extensively, and we just had a huge conversation about it, and we're going to share it all with you guys right now, is the idea of having something called Corrupt.
Yep. So if you had Stasis, Decay, your third one would be called Corrupt. And it's the idea of taking, basically, as a guardian. So let's start with like just what we envisioned the grenades.
Right.
So you go with some of the grenades that you remember that we talked about. I have the notes in front of me.
Right.
So, but you go with the ones that you.
I'm
and
gonna,
I'll just
I'm
recover.
gonna forget the names, but
Yeah,
so
sure.
you can lead me into
Yeah, I'll help
whatever.
you. Mhm.
But we have, one of the first one we have is one of the taken blights.
Yeah.
Like throwing it down. You kind of have that area of effect.
It's like an AOE.
You're right. You throw it down, it explodes. You get kind of that splatter of that taken energy across the ground, and that blight feeling where when you walk through it, it does the same thing to you. It what's it called when it
slows?
takes away things? It slows,
It,
but
like,
it also
suppresses you.
It's basically it's
Kinda like
basically
it
an
suppresses you.
area of effect suppression.
Yeah.
So it doesn't have any suppression power on impact.
Right.
But if somebody goes into that zone, they get suppressed, and they get that same kind of overtone that you get when you walk into a taken blight in PvE.
Right. And one of the other ones we had was like you could have like the wall grenade for these corrupt subclasses would be that you throw like basically those like blight things that just shoot off the walls and they like bounce you off, and like I always think in the Shattered Throne when you're like trying to get to what that witch is. I'm really drawing a blank on it.
What's why can't we think of her name?
It doesn't matter. the one witch, and you got that long wall that you're running by, and it's like
Yeah.
pushing you off. That would be what your grenade is. You can throw that, deposit it on a wall, and instead of it being like a lightning grenade, it's actually going to pulse and bop you
Launch
back
you off.
like you are.
A good example again is also the Whisper of the Worm. You get a lot of those. On
Yeah,
the
a lot of
wall,
those. on
Or
the
Lake
wall.
of
Perfect.
Shadows.
Yeah, Lake of Shadows, absolutely. We talked about the blight bouncing Betty.
Right.
So
That
kind of
one's
like those
cool.
mini blights that you see in the Taken King.
It's almost like a mine when you
Yeah.
run by it.
Yeah, it's
it
like a
kind
mine.
of pulses twice
It
and then
kind of
explodes.
pulses and then explodes.
That one would. We said that one would basically blind you to some extent. It give you
Right.
kind of a filter of your screen where you have trouble seeing. It's kind of like a blind mine.
Yep. We had the idea that the phalanx would be like you have phalanx axion darts. Yeah, you
Mhm.
know how like the Taken phalanx throw out like the axion darts. That would be one of your grenades. So when you throw it, it either tags the person in there just like a normal axion dart, and it goes towards them. And then the last one was the hobgoblin grenade. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
one was great. So basically, you know that kind of effect that happens when you shoot a hobgoblin. It happens sometimes when they're still alive too, but when you kill it, it kind of launches out those 3, almost like axion darts, but it just comes together and collides basically on you and causes some serious damage. And that was kind of our third idea with that.
Yeah, and I'm actually just thinking right now. I'm having an idea right off the cuff. Is it would sacrifice you being able to throw a grenade, but
Mhm.
instead when you die, it actually would send it out
Ooh,
just
that
like
would
a
be
hobgoblin.
fantastic.
Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? How cool would that,
That would
be?
be sick.
It'd be a trade-off. You sacrifice having a grenade all the time, but
It
when
could
you
clean
have a
up your
grenade, it could
guys.
clean up your guy. If you're
Yeah.
like, gosh, dang it, dude! Like I would have had one more. I just needed one more headshot. Like he got one more headshot on me,
Right.
with a hand cannon. Well, it would clean him up, right? And how
Right.
like that'd be such a great. I think that'd be a great trade-off. That wouldn't be broken
No.
by any means. I just think it would be a great trade-off because you
Yeah.
don't have a grenade anymore. You can't control zones or anything with your
Mhm.
grenade. You instead are trying to get into 1v1s, which is what we want. And then if you end up losing, you kind of have a trump card if you have a grenade,
Right.
you know? So then let's kind of move into what the supers might look like because I
Yeah.
want to save the abilities for last because I think we get really creative with what the abilities. And I
Yeah,
think the
maybe- I
abilities
mean,
are coolest.
Do you want to go by class or you want to go by supers and then go back and start again? Like go Titan, Warlock, Hunter, and then go back and start again with the abilities?
Oh yeah, sure. So like, yeah, we'll go by class.
Okay.
And so we'll start with Warlock, and we'll go through all the Warlock supers, and then we'll go through their abilities too, and then
Yeah.
we'll switch back up to Titan, and then end with Hunter. So Warlock, here we go. So we had the idea that you would have a Taken Goblin protection shield,
Yeah.
right? So our idea was that you would you'd have the Taken Goblin, like you know how they can protect enemies. That's
Mhm.
kind of
they
the
kind
same
of shoot
idea.
it out of their
They
eye.
kind of shoot it out of their eye.
Yeah.
They would be kind of coming out the head of a warlock, and
Yeah.
they can't shoot, they can't do anything, but they can walk around and they can protect anyone. It's kind of like a
Mhm.
moving well of radiance,
Yeah.
which we thought would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Um,
But basically a shield, like it wouldn't necessarily, Well of Radiance gives you more damage boost and stuff like that too, but this would basically make you a walking tank,
it'd make you
but
immune.
you don't do any more damage. Yeah.
Right, you don't do any more damage or anything,
Yeah.
but you're completely immune.
And I was thinking that, there's always ought to be something that makes it drain more.
Right.
I'm thinking when you move, it drains faster. So if you're
Yeah.
standing still, it's a
Yep.
slower drain. But
It's
if you
slower
need
drain.
to move,
Yep, if
it'll
you're
go
moving
down.
and it would drain way faster.
Right.
That's a cool idea. I like that.
Yeah.
And then the whole idea with this like Taken subclass idea, the corrupt subclasses, is that we're taking abilities that we've seen from Taken enemies, and then we're kind of latching them onto
Right.
Guardian subclasses. And so the Taken Captain Ball. Do you want to explain that
Yeah,
one? That's one
yeah.
of the coolest ones.
This one is fantastic. It's useful in different ways. So, you know how those captains do that ridiculous animation where they just like throw their arm back and toss a huge kind of moving Taken Blight at you. So we were thinking that would be an awesome kind of equivalent to what the Nova Bomb is from the Warlock.
Right.
But what this does instead is that you throw it, for instance, in PvP, and you get this massive center one that just goes through everything. It just goes straight. It goes whatever
through the
direction.
entire map.
Entire map, it goes whatever direction you're facing. So you throw it and it just moves straight. So you can see that somebody casts it and you might be on the other side of the map, but now you're freaking out because you're trying to look at walls. It might pop out of anywhere
Right.
because it just goes all the way through it. It doesn't have any tracking, but it's a big directional shot.
Yep.
And then we also had the idea for PvE where what were we saying about that? It was split, right?
It would split, yeah.
Yeah.
So you could pick basically kind of like how you had the 3-shot Nova Bomb back in the day.
Yeah.
You could have a 3-shot Taken, but it would shoot just like 3 small ones out
Yeah.
in a directional path. And that one you could shoot in the air. The trade-off with doing the big Captain Taken Ball is that you plant
Yeah.
So your warlock has to be on the ground in order to cast it.
Yeah.
And so
Which with the point of that is to be totally contrary to what warlocks usually are. They're trying to float around and stay
Right.
above the ground.
Right.
But with this, it's like we're trying to kind of flip that on its head
Yep.
and put them right at the ground. Same
Yep.
with the abilities that we'll get into now.
yeah. And so now we're gonna talk about the abilities of the warlock, which was like I don't know. We had a lot of fun ideas.
Yeah.
And so the class ability, right? So the class ability, it would get rid of the rift. And so the warlock now just kind of like reaches his hand down when he's like trying to cast his ability, and he kind of gets like the Oryx taken hand and just pulls a Shadow Thrall out of the ground. And it just like one little baby Shadow Thrall goes out, and it just latches onto an enemy, whether it's PvP or PvE. It just latches onto that enemy and holds them for a second or two if it catches them. If it doesn't catch them, you can just shoot it. You know, in PvP they could just shoot that Shadow Thrall coming around the corner.
Yeah.
But it can just snag you for a brief moment.
Yeah, and basically suppresses you to some extent, like
Right.
grabbing onto you, and you're slowed and you can't shoot.
Yeah.
It basically makes you worthless, and so
Yeah.
the warlock gets a little window where basically they can try and take you out.
Right. And so, and then like with the melee ability, because we already talked about grenades, the melee ability is that warlocks kind of can take, right? So they can take
Yeah.
minor adds or an ad that they can't take yellow bars, but they can take anything that has really low health, and they get that same Oryx hand again, and they actually take the minor adds in PvE. But then in PvP, instead of taking them, because you obviously can't take control of a character, you steal ammo. So if you get close enough to punch a guy while they have heavy, you're being rewarded by you actually get to swipe their heavy. And let's say there's a ridiculous Titan just rushing you in PvP, and you actually melee him before he gets a shotgun shot off. You're gonna take that shell right out of his casing, or right out of his gun, and you maybe use it against him.
Right. So basically, it's a tool that, and we like obviously you don't want that to be overpowered, overused. No. So it would be only if somebody's got heavy. Obviously, you're gonna pull heavy from them, and you're
Right.
only gonna pull whatever is equivalent to one
Yeah.
rocket.
Right. And it's not like if they don't have special, you're not gonna just pull special out of thin air. That doesn't make
you'll
any
get
sense.
primary. So
Yeah.
basically, it's a tier list. If
Yep.
they have heavy, you'll pull the heavy. If they have special, you'll pull the special. And if they have neither, you'll pull prime.
Right.
So I thought that would be a cool way to balance it, where like you
Yeah.
have to kind of predict, does this guy have special ammo?
Yeah,
If
well,
he's running at you with a shotgun, you're like, okay, I can take that
Yeah.
ammo from him.
Yeah.
But if he's shooting at you with his primary, it might not be worth the risk.
Right.
Yeah.
And it kind of just plays into like if I get them caught with my Shadow Thrall for a moment, I could punch them, take their ammo, so that now it's just a primary fight.
Yeah.
And I can just, oh, look, I just bopped you with my special because I had time to melee you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So that's the Warlock, and that was pretty fun. Let's do the Titan.
Yeah.
So the first Titan super that we came up with was like a Taken Ogre Eye.
Yeah.
Uh,
That one is super fun, just because, you always get pushed around by those big taken
those
ogres. You
stupid
hate it. You
Taken
just
Ogres.
get
I hate him
thrown
in Gambit,
around.
bro. Oh
So
my gosh.
can you imagine having a Titan running out of PvP map? So not running around. That's actually part of the trade-off, is that this would be a lumbering Titan, basically, where he's going and he suddenly has to slow down and is just slowly walking. But now he's got a big old taken ogre eye beam shooting out of his eye, and he can direct where that's going just like any other gun. Kind of like a trace rifle is kind of how I feel like it'd feel.
I think maybe it would go into third person and kind of be like the geo, like
Third person, but I
yeah.
meant like how you hold it, and
how you hold it. Yeah. Oh yeah. You get the kickback for sure.
Yeah, and then you're getting pushed around. So the big thing with that is it's like you're keeping people off of you, and that obviously has utility in PvE too, because you can just push.
Oh yeah.
Like imagine the vault encounter in Last Wish. Those knights are running at it, and you're kind of slow and you can't get them off. You just pop your super and you're just pushing them away from it.
Pushing them
and
back.
he
I mean,
can't
it
get to
does damage,
Yeah, so you could eventually deal
yeah.
damage enough to kill him off too.
It could even be it could even give you a buff. Like,
Right.
it could be like a damage buff, like it leads it gives you like a suppression or something.
Yeah, something like that. That would work really well. And so it's just a nice directional control, but also with some nice laser targeting for PvP that could be really fun.
Yeah.
A ranged one for Titan that we don't get as often.
Yeah, you really don't get many ranged ones, so that's kind of what we wanted to add, a ranged one. And then we had the idea of the Taken Vandal Titan one. You want to talk about that one, like the shooting through the shield?
Yeah, so that one's basically a reflection of the Ward of Dawn. It's instead of giving you a buff, you just basically get a shield around you that you can shoot through. So if you're doing something like a control match, for instance, and you pop it on B,
Right.
anybody that's approaching that is going to have to get inside the bubble
Totally.
to do damage to you. And
And-
while you're inside of that bubble, you're going to be in the taken blight, basically.
Right. But you don't get any damage buffs when you shoot out of this
No.
thing. That's
and,
the
and
trade-off.
you don't get any protection while
You
you're
don't
in
get any
there.
protection while you're in there.
But what you do is you get that shot out of it, and the
Yep.
people who come in get debuffed.
Right. Yep. They get slowed. It's not like they can't melee you.
Yeah,
or do
they
their
can
abilities or
they can do all
anything.
their
It's just-
abilities.
They just
Yeah.
can't. They just move. They just can't double jump basically.
Yeah.
Or sprint.
Yeah, it just
Yep.
makes them kind of an easier target to track down.
So that's the Titan's supers. Let's look at his abilities now. These are some of the like wildest
Yeah,
just animations.
and also just the way you have to trigger some of them
Right.
is pretty fun.
So we have like ogres, right? So we were trying to stick with the ogre theme, and so we thought, well, why can't we have a stomp mechanic? And so you would hold circle, and if you're in the air, you would do like the two-fisted ogre slam
Mhm.
when you come flying down to the ground, which would be crazy. Oh no, that's the melee.
That's the melee.
Yeah, that's the melee.
Yeah.
That's my bad.
That's all right. Well, let's
The
just turn it
Titan,
around.
yeah, the Titan melee would be an ogre slam.
Yeah.
right?
Either way, so it's either there's two of them. Remember,
Yep.
because we basically are giving Titan stomp mechanics, so it's
Right.
not really about dealing damage. So if you're in the air, yeah, you fall to the ground with ogre hands and you slam, and they fly away and
Right.
hit something. And then the other version of that, if you're standing still, is you lift your leg up
Yep.
like you're a big old.
You hold R1 and you would lift your
phalanx.
leg up and,
Yeah.
and just slam it against the ground.
Yeah.
And it just pushes things back. It gives maybe a little bit of damage, but the main damage would come from slamming up against something.
Yeah.
Just like when you get hit by a phalanx.
Right.
And then here's the super fun one. When you pull out your barricade, instead it turns into a phalanx shield,
Mhm.
and you would pop whatever is running towards you away from you. So if
Yeah.
you have another guy who's like trying to Titan slam you, or he's trying to shoulder charge you, you just pop. It
They
just
fly
pops them
back,
away,
and if you
they
get
just
them right
fly
up
back.
against the
And
wall,
if you get them
they're
right up
dead.
against the wall, they're dead.
Yeah.
It's so. I just love how
And
ridiculous that.
The
sounds.
trade-off for that is you got to sprint, but the only subclass right now. Well, actually, no. Are they the only subclass that doesn't have a slide trigger, right?
Yeah, they don't have a slide trigger.
Yeah. Do warlocks have a slide trigger?
No, they don't.
I think it's only
Yeah, it's just hunters. Yeah.
just hunters. Yeah, because if you give this would be a slide. Just like the Arc Striders.
Yep.
Slide electric wave. I can't remember exactly what it's called.
Yeah. The
Lightning wave. Isn't that what it's called?
I don't know.
But people know what we're talking
The arc
about.
staff.
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so you'd have to slide, and basically your chest, you just boom, bop it out, and like
Right.
that phalanx shield bop. That's
Right.
pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the hunter thrall. So we're gonna start doing like hunter stuff now, and Ethan will take over here because he's a hunter main, and so he's got a lot to say about this. So you have the. Okay, so this is the Taken Cyclops. Talk about the Taken Cyclops one, where it shoots out that single capture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this one, the Taken Cyclops is pretty cool because basically you get the blade barrage. This is kind of another reflection of that, but kind of a new idea. Those big Taken Cyclops that shoot you and basically trap you inside of that ball that you got to shoot your way out of. So this basically gives that ability to a hunter. He jumps up or he runs up and he triggers it, throws it out, and it'll capture whoever it lands on, and they have to shoot their way out of the shield. Now, this shield has a given amount of health.
Right.
So the idea is there's a trade-off here where if you throw it and you capture like 3 guardians in one shot, they can all shoot that shield at the same time, and they'll deal damage to it
and
faster.
they'll get through it way faster.
Yeah, because there's just more damage being dealt to it. But if you get one single guy in there and he's stuck in there, he's doomed
probably
pretty much.
toast.
Yeah, because he can't
unless
bust
you
his way
catch
out
him
of the
across
shield.
the map for some weird reason.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So because you can shoot straight through it at him, but he
Right.
has to shoot his
Right.
way out. So that was a fun one to kind of entrapment. Like that's a big theme of what we're going to be talking about with the Hunter too, is kind of entrapment.
Right. And then the last one is for Hunter is the Taken Throne World.
Yeah. This one's wild. There's no way.
I don't know if this would ever happen.
I don't know if
this
it's
one.
possible.
This one we really thought outside of the box on this one.
Yeah.
This one's pretty cool.
So this one is not any kind of damage. This is all about momentum. Hunters are all about movement speed and all those
Right.
kinds of things. So this one would be that you basically enter your own throne world.
Right.
So
you kind of cut open a rift.
Right.
Basically.
You enter that portal. Those big portals we saw in Taken King that open up and you were worthy to run in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Basically one of those pops up on the map. You run in and you basically get what's it called when you go into invisibility, when you can see everybody? What's that called?
Oh,
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, they just, it's been a while since we've been back, so like your brain just goes dead, when you're like put on the spot. You're like, I know all these words. True sight?
True sight. That's it.
Okay, there we go.
True sight. That's the one. So you get true sight basically, where you see everybody on the map while you're in the throne world. So you can kind of decide where you want to go.
Right.
You run across and you can basically take this throne. You're in your own world, so nobody sees you. You're not invisible. Right. You're gone.
You're literally just not there. You're physically not there on the map.
You're not there on the map. You're not there on your radar. Nothing.
Right.
And all of a sudden, a rift will open where you want to jump out, and you just suddenly jump out. And depending on where you trigger that, you save whatever super energy you use. So you can hop, but it would be a quick drain.
It'd be a quick super.
Yeah.
Because it's all about movement. It's not an offensive super in that you can actually kill anyone while you're in that throne world. You can't. You have to hop out and actually kill them yourself with whatever weapon.
Right. So that's kind of the strategy. We're trying to reinvigorate the idea of using swords in PvP with this one, kind of like where you jump into the throne world and then you open a rift and you just pop out. Somebody has no idea you're about to pop out there. Boom, sword hit. They're down.
Right, yeah.
So that one's just a fun idea to kind of like totally flip the idea on its head what a super actually is.
Right. Like it's literally just for movement and it has nothing to do with actually being offensive, defensive. Yeah. You could escape with it, I guess, in PvE.
Yeah.
But we like the idea. And you could be interrupted in that because someone could go to where you opened your rift and they could hop in and they could hunt you. But if you get them if they're in there while you close the rift, they don't die, but they do just pop right out of it.
Yeah, exactly. And one thing I thought that it would be really cool with, like you talked about PvE usage, is I know Leviathan's going to be gone, but imagine if you could have done the dogs encounter with a super like that.
Yeah.
Because one thing we didn't mention real quick is that your allies can actually follow you in.
Yeah, your allies can go in. Anyone can go in.
Anybody can go in, yeah. So an enemy could go in there, and it doesn't buff anybody. So they just go in, and it just becomes basically a one-on-one if they follow you in there, which is we thought would be a fun idea.
It'd be fun.
It's room control, basically. Yeah.
It's super cool. It takes the whole idea of the super and just kind of flips it on its head.
Because that dogs encounter, if you got everybody in there and they just ran past all the dogs.
Ran past all the dogs and you're like, okay, we're right at, and I can just see
you
like
just
the
stay
strats
in the
of
throne
like,
world as much as you
must
can.
be hunter, must have this super unlocked, and like we're just gonna go to 4 plants and get the biggest buff that we can with using those supers, and then we're just gonna melt the dogs. Like I could just totally see that being a strat.
That would be so funny.
So we wanted to make the hunters kind of like a thrall with its abilities. And so we have a new movement ability that gets rid of like the dodge.
Yeah.
Talk about that, the thrall dash.
So this is, how the thrall kind of do the taken thrall do that little kind of zigzaggy jump side to side. Yeah, they zip towards you, exactly. So we're just giving that to the hunter that basically it's kind of like a blink, but instead it's your dodge, and what it does is basically you leap towards the closest guardian.
Or closest enemy.
Yep. Yeah. So basically it's a strategy. Well, no, because we were saying the closest light bearer because of the PvE usage. Wasn't that what we were talking about last time? Yeah. I mean, in PvP, it would be restricted to enemy because that's the utilization in it. Right. So when you're in there, you basically hold it down and you'll get dragged to the nearest enemy guardian in
within
PvP.
a certain radius.
Within a radius. So suddenly you just appear in front of them and you're facing them. It'll turn you around. It'll do whatever. And so you're directly facing them.
So you're always facing them.
Because it kind of pairs to the melee.
It pairs exactly with the melee, which we're calling leech.
Yeah. So basically what this is the melee is those taken like thrall hands come down. And what you do is you basically steal an overshield.
Yeah. You steal a flat amount of health. So
if
you're super hurt, like if you're at full health, then you'll get an overshield.
Yeah.
But if you, like, if you're at, let's say you're super weak, you have 20 health left in PvP. If you blink to someone and slap them, you're gonna get 100 health or whatever.
Yeah.
So you're back up to basically full, not quite.
Right. So the utilization there is like, for instance, a good example is that this guy's coming at you. You're running low on your special. He's got his shotty. You hold down the circle. You're suddenly in front of him. You hit him. You leech health off of him. You've got higher health than he does now because you got that melee on him. He hits you once, but he's got to hit you 3 times.
Right.
Even if he gets you with a shotgun shot, you're still going to have some health left over if you went over your main health.
If you went over your main health. If you now have absolutely.
And so it basically just gives you a chance to kind of gives the hunter more of an ability to be more of that melee fighter because
it's very risky.
It is. It's extremely risky, but one of the hardest things for hunters is the close. Like you can get close in on a hunter,
and it pairs really well with the super that we have.
Right,
where you're traversing, and if you come out, and let's say you misjudge the end of your super just a little bit, and so they're a little out of range of where you want them to be. Well, you now use your you use that ability, it pulls you straight to them, you punch them, and then there's like so much synergy there just with this stuff.
It's all about movement and, like I said,
Right.
entrapment. They can't get away from you. Is
totally,
the idea?
Totally.
Which is it's against a lot of what hunters. A lot of times hunters are trying to be above or away,
right.
hit you from afar, and a lot of people get tired of that. So this one is basically trying to encourage hunters to be more direct combat.
Totally. Yeah, it's like trying to just spice it up a little bit for them.
Yeah.
Well,
And that's, for instance, with Wormhusk. We were talking about this here. Like, a lot of people hate Wormhusk. So with this, it actually gets rid of it because you don't have a dodge.
you don't have a dodge.
Yeah.
You don't get health back. You have to get health back by punching someone.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like working for it instead of just getting it for free.
Yeah.
Nerf
Just so
Wormhusk.
everybody knows, I'm definitely a PvE hunter. I'm not.
Yeah, you are a PvE hunter.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not a PvP hunter. That's nice. That's one of the nice things about you.
Because
I'm a Warlock main, Warlock for life.
Yeah.
Like, but I play a lot of Titan too.
I've been playing a lot more Titan in PvP.
Yeah.
I think Titan it's sillier to the point where I have more
ridiculous.
fun.
They are so
Even
ridiculous.
if I do worse, it's just like it's just funny.
You have a baby hammer that you throw.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
It's pretty great.
So I think that kind of wraps up our conversation about the corrupt subclasses. Which, but if anyone from Bungie, for some odd reason, stumbles across this,
one of our 40 listeners,
go ahead and steal
our
all
40
those
views,
ideas.
which half are us watching it over again.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So let's move into kind of the end of Season of Arrivals. Right?
Yeah.
Like, do you think there's going to be a season-ending event? What do you think that might look like?
What I think is going to happen is that basically, I think there's going to be something where all of a sudden we're going to go to the tower or some other location. I think we've done all we can for those planets. I don't think we're going to go back there.
I don't think we're going to.
So I think what it's going to be is a shorter version of what happened at the end of last season.
With the Almighty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the Almighty, that was amazing, but they told everybody it started in, what was it, 2.5 hours later? It started really happening.
Yeah, it was like happening really, really slow.
Yeah.
And then it like finally crashed. And then you got to see all the cool stuff that came with that, which was awesome. Don't get me wrong. Like, that was super cool. And it was amazing that they even got their engine to do that.
Yeah.
Because
so
of that spaghetti engine that they have. So.
Right. I think we're going to have something similar where I think either we're going to have something more like that experience where we're going to see it in the sky somewhere, like maybe we're in the EDZ and we see something happening, or we're on the moon and we see something happening. But you can't really see planets, a lot of those planets, from any other location.
And so that's why I think it might actually be
a cutscene.
Yeah. And like, I actually got an email today that said, like, witness the finale. Like, make sure you log in to catch the finale.
Yeah.
Before the end of the season, which to me says like you can log in whenever.
Yeah, and it'll happen.
Watch it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know if
I think it'll happen
live
Monday.
Event.
I think they'll wait until last minute.
I think they could do it Monday, and it'd be I think cool.
I think it'll basically be the first cutscene of the new expansion.
It could totally
where
be.
Basically, I think we might see a new face show up in it. We might see something happen.
Yeah.
The stranger might finally come to us.
Yeah, I wonder if it has
a call from them or something.
Yeah, I wonder if it has anything to do with Rasputin though, because it's called the Calamity Protocol. You know, that emblem that everyone's been talking about for so long about. Hey, there's this emblem in here that obviously we have to have a live event because you witnessed something.
I think maybe it happens, and then maybe our cutscene is Rasputin waking up in the Exo as an Exo.
Or we didn't even talk about.
He's not an Exo. He's a frame.
We didn't even talk about the origins of the Exos and how that got revealed in the Clovis lore.
Yeah.
Like, that's just so crazy. And
we'll say that at the end. We'll definitely talk about it.
Yeah, we are.
This is big spoiler.
Yeah.
Like, this will be a big spoiler warning. We've already done minor spoilers, but a lot of people have access to that stuff.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about
This one's like lore that a lot of people might not hear about and might want to experience firsthand. So if you don't want to hear that, you can tune out now.
Yeah. Well, actually, we'll talk about it. We'll talk it at the end when we talk about. I forgot we're talking about the Deep Zone crypt at the end.
Yeah, we probably just lost a few people who just jumped out right when I said that.
So then let's also talk about the collector's edition ARG that started this week.
Exactly.
And there's still, because we're recording this on Thursday, I just checked Reddit before we started. There's not been like a lot of progress, but people get like these gifts or moving, and people think it might be a QR code that might unlock the last couple lore pages that are missing from the collector's edition book.
Yeah.
Which might reveal that like Clovis is still alive and how Elsie became the stranger and all that stuff. So could be really interesting. They could also not do anything. It could actually lead to the Calamity Protocol.
Right.
Who knows?
Right.
So
I think these puzzles are a better way to do these events. I think what they're basically learning is that we saw in the season with Saint 14, which was called the season of, what was that? The Season of Dawn?
Yeah, Season of Dawn.
Season of Dawn. We had that puzzle. We had the
Corridors of Time.
Corridors of Time, which
my brain's working now.
Unfortunately, Unfortunately, that ended with kind of a reward that it was just early Bastion, but
Which
But
sucked because they
did.
shouldn't have put that on there. It would have been
No.
people would have liked Bastion way more if it hadn't been on the roadmap.
yeah. If it hadn't been on the roadmap and they got that early, that
Yeah.
would have been a cool ushering in of it.
Crazy.
Yeah, people
cool.
would have freaked out.
People
been
would have
like,
remembered Bastion forever, but now
Yeah.
it's remembered as, oh yeah, it was
the
Bastion.
roadmap, I think, ruins things sometimes. That's why I'm
Yeah.
excited. The new roadmap for Beyond Light says nothing about exotics.
Well, yeah, except for it lists all of them on the bottom.
Yeah.
But it doesn't tell you where you're getting any of
Or
them. It
when
doesn't
they're-
tell you when they're
yeah.
coming. It doesn't tell you if Hawkmoon's going to be a world drop. Which
Yeah.
I want Hawkmoon so bad.
Hawkmoon's going to be a quest for sure.
Hawkmoon better be just absolutely mind-numbingly amazing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, especially with all the stuff they're doing to the hand cannons, it better basically be like a celebration of hand cannon.
It better hit it like 50 meters.
Yeah.
That's all I want.
I hope it's just like a super high range.
I just want it to
Hand
be
cannon.
amazing.
Yeah.
And I want it to be a 140.
I think it will be.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be slow.
Yeah. So
But-
that brings me into kind of like the TWAB. Let's talk about the TWAB from this
Yeah,
week,
sure.
and then maybe some of the sandbox changes that we're looking forward to that are coming with Beyond Light.
Mm-hmm.
So let's start with the kiosks. The kiosks are kind of cool.
Yeah, fantastic. I mean, especially for people like me who got kind of busy this
Totally.
last year with a lot of this stuff, and I wasn't able to jump into raids as much with people, and
Right.
I didn't play nearly as much. And for me, basically, now that I'm gonna have time, I'm gonna have a little more open things for that. We can jump in and do raids, and I can still go back and use new raid currency to pick up previous raid
Anarchy,
exotics.
Terra. I really think it's smart the way that they're doing this.
They're still requiring pinnacle achievement for those, but
absolutely.
they're allowing
there's a
you to
currency.
basically
Mhm.
predict
Mhm.
when you're going to be able to get it.
Right. They're like, okay, I have to do this many raids in order for me to pick up Anarchy.
Yeah, removing RNG for pinnacle stuff like that, I think is really good.
It's kind of cool. And the trade-off is like you have to work a lot harder, and you didn't get it as soon as everyone else.
Yeah.
Like that's a good trade-off. Like I can get it. Like I've had Anarchy for a year and a half or whatever now because I got it on my first completion of Scourge of the Past, which that never
luckiest thing ever. Yeah.
It took me 20 to get to Last Wish. I mean to get 1K, which I know that's still better than most, but
Yeah. Some people still don't even have 1K,
right,
and they
right.
raid every weekend.
I know. Yeah, that's the worst.
But yeah, I
that's
think
a great change.
It's
the
a huge
kiosks are a
change.
great change.
Yeah, and it's a good middle ground. I think with things like the raid exotics, let's look at this for instance. The pinnacle activities of like receiving some of the things like when people got mountaintop Randys, all those different things that were pinnacle weapons.
Oh, totally.
You had a direct path to get them.
Yeah.
And I like the idea of giving a direct path to get raid exotics. I mean, yeah, probably the new raid exotic will be random, I think.
Maybe.
But
Who knows?
Who knows? But like things like Outbreak Prime, the reason that was such a successful exotic was because it wasn't random.
It wasn't random. It
Once
was
you-
extremely difficult to get because you had to complete the raid a couple of times.
Yeah.
But then there was like a really cool quest that it was attached
And
to it.
and you actually had to do research to do that thing. I mean, it was
Tons
a
of stuff.
crazy quest,
Tons
but
of
you
stuff.
were guaranteed the reward at the end.
Right. Right.
And
you
I
put in
think-
all this work, you will get it. But you
Yeah.
have to put in all the work.
Yeah, and I think that makes raid exotics more successful. I think this idea of it just being a
Sure.
random drop worked with Vex Mythoclast.
And it did work with Vex, and I think that's where the mystery of Vex Mythoclast came from, and the beauty of it.
Well,
you know
it's
what I mean?
because it makes sense in the time period too. RNG was not as
yeah.
RNG has, I think, plagued a lot of what Destiny
Sure.
has been doing the last few years. But looking at Vex Mythoclast, it was like this excitement that's when exotics were this like, wow, I got it.
Yeah.
But now they've been given out to us. It's
Oh,
like getting a raid exotic doesn't feel as exciting. Like they are some of the best still,
Yeah.
obviously, and they should be.
Yep.
But I think people like the idea of being able to contribute to something
Right.
and get the reward and feel like
totally.
I did this, I
did this. Yep,
accomplished
yep,
this.
Yep,
Yeah.
absolutely. And I think they can give out pinnacles in this kiosk because they've sunset them, right?
Right.
It's not near as sore to be like, oh yeah, dude, I just bought Not Forgotten, which we don't even know if we're gonna be able to buy Not Forgotten. But
Yeah.
that's kind of the feeling I get is that like all these people didn't get these pinnacles when they were at their pinnacle. So now let's give them a road to get them in a
Yeah.
much easier fashion so
Well-
everyone can experience that content, and they don't get to play with them when they were broken. I mean, that's why I have 3,000 kills on my Luna's house because I had it when it was busted.
Broken.
Like
yeah.
busted. I was two-tapping guys sometimes with a 180. Like,
Yeah.
are you joking me?
Yeah, I think the craziest thing about that is it's just like they never like they take so long. They make them too good that they have too much of a community behind them that doesn't want them to go away because
Right.
they basically give something that everybody loves, but
Right.
then the people don't have it are just getting trashed on. It's
Right.
like you get this heavy
The rich
division.
get richer.
Right. And I think the one thing that this does well that justifies this maybe is that's maybe why they didn't crap on Mountaintop as much as we would have liked. Like
I think it will be gone.
I think it will be.
PvP.
I think it will be to some extent. I think it'll still be there because it still can hit hard and stuff like that if you can use it right.
Yeah.
But what this does well is basically be like, yeah, it's a little crappier, but now everybody's got it.
But now everyone's got it, and
it's
like
much
you can
easier
still
to get.
use it in PvE, and it's gonna be good. And so the people who like have been raving about how good it is in PvE will still get that feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, like it's still gonna have spike grenades. It's still gonna be really good in PvE. And
Yeah. Especially for lower content.
Yeah, totally. Like because there's stuff that it still works in, like strikes and stuff, because that stuff isn't sunsetting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you can use that in normal content.
Yeah.
In regular Gambit. You know what I mean?
Well,
Well, we don't know what's going on with Gambit yet. But
no, but going back to the TWAB with some of that stuff. The last thing I'll say kind of about the weapons in general is that looking at this, I think they're finally figuring out what identity of weapons are. I think the problem with Mountaintop is it was gone from the identity of a grenade launcher.
Yeah.
It basically took on the identity of a rocket launcher.
It was a rocket launcher.
Yeah.
It was better than most. It's better than most rocket launchers.
And
let's be honest.
come on, the buff that they gave rocket launchers. We're looking at it in the future. Just crank
get
it
it two
up.
in the tube. Just two
do
in the tube.
that.
All we
That's
need is
so
two in the tube,
easy.
and we'll be so much happier.
Yeah, anyway, that's a whole nother conversation. But what I'm saying is like, you know, they've slimmed down the amount of hand cannons there are. There's only 2 types now.
Yeah.
And that I think the
Or
identity
3 types: 180s, 140s,
right.
and 120s.
So they've given them all
and they
an
can
much more of an
pulled
identity.
them all out so they can tune them individually, which is really cool.
Right. And so looking at it like the 180s, you know, they're kind of this rapid fire, like quick dodging, moving out, and trying to keep alive. The precision guys are just like, okay, you got to hit your shots and you'll kill them fast.
Mm-hmm.
And then the middle ground is just kind of like a combination between the two at the 140, where you're just kind of like,
That's your classic hand cannon.
yeah,
That's
it's a classic hand
I'm
cannon.
a gunslinger.
I'm a gunslinger. It's fast firing enough that I
My
can
3
get
tap.
in. I can run in, and I'm just going to be really aggressive with it.
Yeah.
You know, and I like that idea a lot.
Mhm.
And then you look at something like what else do they do?
And then you got the 120s, which are the
120s,
aggressive frames,
yeah.
and those things can hit you from 45 meters.
Yeah,
Supposedly.
they're precision shots, man.
Like that's nuts that you're gonna have. That's cool. That's a great trade-off.
what it should
It's like
be.
I get so much range if I'm gonna use a 120.
But then once you get in close, you're dead.
yeah, you're toast because it fires so slowly. You know,
Yeah.
an SMG or a shotgun
And
or
it's
whatever is gonna melt
handling.
you.
You're going to try and move side to side. Your
Yep.
movement's going to be rough with those
Yeah,
too, which is
totally.
which is right. That's what it should be.
Yeah, heavy hand cannon should feel like that.
I think I disagreed with them when it came to scout rifles.
Man, I don't know, dude. I slap with Mida in PvP right now.
Well, a
and
lot of people are using Mida. That's
Yeah.
true.
like it's really good. And Jade Rabbit, when you get that,
Jade Rabbit's good too.
when you get the masterwork completed,
those
on
are
Jade
both
Rabbit-
exotics.
But those are both exotics. You're right, and the exotics should be good.
Yeah, I'm talking
There's
about.
not a single. Randy's is good, but is it?
But
good
would
enough
you
for
ever
me to,
choose
Yeah, is it good enough
over
for me to
anything
take
else?
into
Yeah.
trials? No,
no.
it's really not.
Yeah, I don't think any.
Yeah, I've used
legendary
Mida. I've used
is-
Mida and been successful in
Yeah.
trials, but you're right. There's really nothing
in terms of the legendaries.
in terms of legendaries that's coming out.
Yeah,
But I think the aim assist thing could be.
could be helpful.
It could be. It could be. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Honestly, that one.
think-
That's. You're right. That is kind of a mystery to me.
Yeah, I think that they could have done something, not so much to increase its power or anything like that, but make it. I think I get what they're saying from the ease of use, but I think they could have done more to make the ease of use. You know,
Yeah.
give it a little better handling too.
Yeah,
you know,
I
something
think
like
handling
that.
could be something that could be addressed.
Make it as quick as an auto rifle.
Yeah.
Like, why
Yeah.
can't I swing a scout rifle around the same speed as an auto rifle?
Right, absolutely. And they didn't say anything about auto rifles range. I think auto rifles range needs
Yeah.
to be like brought in just like
That was the biggest
just
thing
a
for
hair.
me.
I like that they're changing. It should be 1 bullet more, so it should take the TTK from what 0.7 to 0.77,
Yeah.
something like that.
More in range with what we have now.
With more in range with what we have now.
Well-
A hand cannon can't beat an AR, which kind of bugs me.
Yeah.
It might be 0.8, and then it's 0.87 for 140s.
Yeah.
So
I think
we'll see.
0.8 is the sweet spot. I
I think
think
0.8 is nice.
I think the problem they got into is like they talked about at the very beginning of Destiny 2 that we want to just buff things and just
Yeah.
like, keep them in line. I think that's always fun to say,
Yeah.
but I think the reality is that you gotta break things down sometimes, and I
Oh,
think them doing that to auto rifles and actually taking the chance to like actually debuff some things and do
Yeah.
that to Mountaintop,
Oh yeah,
good sign, because I
it is a
think
good sign.
if we just keep going down lower and lower and lower, we're gonna get to Call of Duty speeds.
And I don't
that's-
want Call.
no one
nobody
wants
plays
that in
Destiny because they
2.
want it to be like Call of Duty.
Yeah,
we play
but
Destiny
They're
because
playing
it's
Call
like
of
Destiny.
Duty. Yeah, they're playing Call of Duty. They're not playing.
Yeah.
Destiny.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that's a big one for me.
And I think if we're gonna talk about sandbox, we have to talk about anti-champion mods
Yeah,
with this
holy
twab.
crap.
Holy crap, they finally did it. They
It's easy.
They finally found a way to give anti-champion mods to our exotics without giving a whole new slot to exotics, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah, and I also think it's a good trade-off where it's like I can put those on because in PvE, it'll feel I have more reason to have 2 separate sets now.
Right.
Where basically my mod set on my PvE is going to be completely different than my mod set on my PvP.
And it should be.
And I like that.
And I love that.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
I do hate that they sunset armor.
Yeah, I was just about to say one thing they need to figure out is the economy of armor.
They do. They have to.
It's way too expensive.
It's so expensive.
If you're going to sunset it, you got to make the investment a lot lower.
Yeah. Or it needs to be doubled Nightfall loot every week.
Yeah.
Like
basically
just
increase the chances of getting materials. Right. Yeah. Give me more materials.
Either give me more materials and make it easier for me to upgrade everything up.
Yeah.
So when a new expansion drops, I don't feel like, holy crap, I have nothing.
Yeah. What I think they should do is make it that only 1 Ascendant Shard is required to upgrade your armor to the final thing. So basically, you can use an Ascendant Shard.
That's how it is on Legendaries right now.
No, I meant an
exotic.
the entire armor set.
Oh.
Yeah, where it's like basically if you upgrade the gear you're wearing, you just make sure that you have it fully you have it upgraded to the point where it needs the Ascendant Shard, all of the pieces. You're rewarded with now you can use your Ascendant Shard to upgrade this set.
That's really interesting.
Basically,
cool.
remove 4 of them because that would be cool. One that makes it so you don't have to increase the material gains. Because honestly, getting Masterwork shards,
not too bad.
It's not too bad.
Except I have a chronic problem of just masterworking weapons that I think might be slightly good so that I can use them, because I have this thing where I literally refuse to use a weapon in PvP unless it's masterwork.
Yeah.
I won't use it. I just won't use it. I have to masterwork it.
Yeah.
I love the little gold border, and I love that it makes orbs on double kills.
Yeah, and also the fact that it
and it tracks how many kills I get with it.
And it just makes your weapon better.
It does. It does just make your weapon better. It makes that stat better. I just can't not use the weapon at its absolute best.
Right, and that's
form
that's
if
exactly
I'm
why.
Into PvP.
Give me more reason to invest into the economy.
Yeah, totally.
I don't understand the restriction.
Yeah, restrictment.
I don't understand the restriction.
No.
It's like, I know that you guys want to make your game long-winded, but man, is it long-winded right now.
Oh, yeah.
And the reality is, we'll make it long-winded. If I have more reason to go grind and get more, I can get a 3rd set this season. You know, in my mind, if I'm like, I can get a 3rd set masterwork that I can make a completely different PvE set that I can switch over to whenever I want.
Yeah.
That's incentive enough for me to keep going.
Totally.
But the problem is that they're trying to make it hard to get a full set.
Yeah. And they're making it expensive to upgrade it.
It discourages me because I'm like, if I'm going to have to do this once, I'm going to have to do it again.
I need to get the stat distribution that I want. There's so much RNG involved.
Yeah.
Even getting a good set of armor is just ridiculous.
Yeah. I think one thing Destiny 1 always will do better, at least if they fix this, than Destiny 2 has done, is the recognition of the balance between RNG and getting what you want.
Right.
Every raid boss,
they're moving towards that idea. Mm-hmm.
Every raid boss in Destiny 1 was guaranteed to drop a specific group of things.
Yeah.
Destiny 2, that doesn't happen. It's random.
Well, except for Garden of Salvation got back to that.
Oh, it did?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yep, it did.
Oh, well, that's...
you can only get the boots from certain things. You can only get the arms from certain things.
That's what it needs to be.
Yeah.
But those things... One thing I needed to say about raid armor and raid weapons, just make them a little better than everything else. Just do it.
Well, they added another slot to them, which to me says they're going to add adept weapon mods to raid weapons, which they should.
Which is perfect.
That's totally what they're doing. They're going to add adept raid weapon mods. They're going to add adept trial, because they're doing adept trials weapon mods. So I think they're going to do that. And then they'll also have Nightfalls. I think they're also going to. Yep, and I think they're also going to do it too.
Dungeons.
Maybe dungeons, but definitely raids for sure.
I think all of them. Well, because I think what Destiny 1 accomplished well with raid activities, at least, and they might even be expanding on this, like you're saying with Destiny 2, is the idea of using the weapon you got from that to make it easier
to master that.
Yeah, we talked about this in our raids episode before.
Yep.
But now it feels like they're actually leaning into it, and you've probably never heard of that raids episode, so we'll just rehash it here. That's what all we want, is that I would pick up, my Ex Machina and know that I could go into Wrath of the Machine, getting some of those sweet benefits.
Yeah. And it's better. It's better in there because that's where I got it from.
Right.
And then, whenever I use anything from the Vault of Glass, I'm getting more damage on the oracles, and I can kill.
That's huge.
I can kill, centaurs faster.
Yeah.
Or minotaurs faster.
Yeah.
Whoa.
I wonder if
What would
they
that
haven't
look
used centaur. Yeah. Or
Weird.
what are those things called that have the weird legs? The goblins.
Yeah, we don't know.
Maybe they're called centaurs.
That would be cool.
That makes sense.
You heard it here first.
Yeah,
Centaurs.
we just predicted that.
So we're talking about raids. We might as well talk about the new upcoming raid and what our plans are with doing it. Deep Stone Crypt. Shout out to our clan, the Salty Casuals Incorporated. We're both part of it, and I will be participating in a day one raid because I can this year. It's on a Saturday, and I'm really excited about it. And there's 10 days to prep for it, so it feels like we can get to 12:30 pretty easily.
Yeah.
Ethan, why don't you tell them what you're gonna do?
I'll be up in Washington visiting family.
Yep.
So I'll watch it from afar. But one thing I'm excited about, this is where we're gonna get into the real spoiler territory.
Yep.
Is that if
potential lore here?
Yeah. If Clovis Bray is the raid boss,
Oh my gosh.
I'm gonna crap my pants.
It would be. I mean, it would be one of the greatest moments.
And if
I
it's
think,
just
in
his
Destiny
giant
history.
head,
If it's just a giant talking head that I shoot at, I don't even care.
just quoting weird safety protocols,
Yep.
I
and
would.
saying weird things about being the Luca.
Yeah.
And I just
want it to be a crazy machine,
I
a crazy,
can't wait.
perfect-looking machine that's attached to a decaying human body.
And that's what makes me so excited about the raid is just even just the potential of Clovis being the boss is just mind-boggling to me.
And the potential story side of that, where it's like Anna and Elsie are basically going to have to kill their
kill their dad.
Yeah,
and it could even be
insane.
Clovis's son, because there are hints that it could be Clovis's son who's been stored in the database, which
I don't think
would
it
be a
is.
letdown.
I don't think he's as obsessive over himself as his father was. Like, he still has some of that pride.
Yeah.
But his father is the chaos.
My gosh.
It's so much easier to villainize Clovis the First.
Oh my gosh, Clovis the First is such an amazing villain after reading that lore book.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just like, man, he used freaking Vex milk, right? Radiolarian fluid, and tainted it with the darkness, and that's how he created the mind of an Exo.
Yeah.
And that's how he decided.
And that's why they have these freaking crazy
and that's why he had the crazy visions of like meeting and killing everyone that they know to get to this tower, which we're finding out we're actually going to get to see what maybe that tower is in the Deep Stone Crypt, and that he built a Vex gate that led to this Star Forge where they create this radiolarian fluid for all the other Vex, and it's like the Vex homeworld. Are we going to get I'm thinking we might even get a dungeon that takes us to
that
the
world.
Vex homeworld. Like, how freaking cool is that? Or if that's the final boss encounter, is like you get teleported out through that Vex gate. I mean, that would just, I don't know. There's so many.
Star Forge.
There's literally just so many things here that with this lore that just brings opportunities that you're just like, holy crap.
And I'm really excited about kind of they're bringing back some of that freeform storytelling that we had in Forsaken, where we have these kind of generals that are working under Aramis.
Right. Which can be like the main story, but then the real meat of that storyline all happens in the raid, which is what happened with Last Wish.
Which is what I think it should be. You know, I think it.
And that's how Taken King was too.
Well, Last Wish is really well done in that you have the Dreaming City as this totally separate story that only exists because of the end of the original story. So people get conclusions who don't do raiding. Right. But then they go on. Then if you go further, you get the deep side of it.
Oh, totally. And so you get to meet Riven.
Right, and that's going to work with this because I think Aramis is going to be last story boss.
I think so too.
I think a lot of people are saying that she's not. She's gonna be a raid boss. I'm like, no, they won't do that.
I don't want her to be a raid boss. I really don't.
I don't want.
Not
her
if
to
Clovis
be
is on
either.
the table. I don't care.
I don't think it'll be. I think it'll be a Vex raid.
I think it'll be maybe like a Fallen to
and
get
Vex,
in.
Yeah, and then Vex at the end kind of thing.
It like devolves into Vex Exo nonsense towards the end.
Because I think the Fallen are only touching the surface.
Yeah, totally. Which is
no pun intended.
But they literally just keep saying everything underneath.
Yeah.
You know, they keep saying there's a lot underneath the ice that you're gonna discover.
Yeah.
Which I'm just like,
that's what it's all about.
Yeah. I'm getting Dreadnought vibes. Like, there's gonna be that many secrets. That's what I'm hoping for.
And I think this is gonna be a Taken King, because if you think about Dreadnought, it's not a huge space.
No, it's not. It just
was a small thing.
Deep.
Yeah, it's
so many layers,
and I like that a lot.
I like that,
and
way
that's
better.
why it's okay that like they're saying it's not Forsaken size. Size is what they're saying.
I don't think anything could be because of how many system changes that they made. I think people forget that when you think of the size of an expansion, there's system changes that go into it too.
Yeah.
Right? Like, how many things did they change? They reverted it basically back to Destiny 1.
Yeah.
In one expansion. That's
crazy.
insane.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we'll not get something that big again.
No.
I
don't think we
ever
ever
will.
Lightfall, maybe,
but it won't be making sweeping system changes like
No,
that.
it
You know
won't
what I
be
mean? That's
system
why they're
changes.
doing the DCV, so that it's easier for them to make system changes and not expansion-sized things.
The one thing I think we'll get from Lightfall is a lot more story missions, because
Yeah,
hopefully
maybe, yeah.
by the Witch Queen, we'll have established basically what the rhythm of Destiny is.
Yeah, totally.
Like we're kind of at that now here, so I don't know. I think Lightfall will be completely content heavy,
Oh,
but
yeah.
not systems heavy at all.
Oh, no. Yeah, not at all.
Yeah, the only thing it would do is add a subclass.
It was add a subclass, and then it's just all content and story and that kind
Yeah.
of stuff. And like, this is where you're headed next.
Yeah.
It'd be super cool.
So all in that to say is we're freaking excited for Beyond Light.
Oh, can't wait. And I had to
And-
ask you one last question.
Oh,
Like,
sure,
what is
yeah.
your most anticipated exotic for Beyond Light? What are you most looking forward to? Which one? Is there one?
I don't know. I mean, do you want me to separate armor and weapon, or choose between those?
Just choose between those.
That's a hard one. You know, I think I'm really excited about the Titan overshield.
Oh, yeah.
Basically transferring your barricade into.
That's super cool. It
into
takes
an
away your
overshield.
barricade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is that one called again?
I can't remember. It's I would know it if you hadn't put me on the spot, but I can't remember it now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mine is obviously Hawkmoon. Hawkmoon was the very first
Yeah.
exotic I got in Destiny 1, which tells you how long that I had to wait to get my first exotic.
Yeah.
I had to wait all the way until House of Wolves before I got my first exotic,
Yeah.
which I was pretty fresh into the game. Like, I played it day one, but I didn't really know what exotics were. I wasn't visiting Xur.
Well, yeah, and
Back then,
everybody
nobody
fell
was.
off a little bit.
And
you know.
so, yeah. And then I came back House of Wolves after like 2 months of playing Destiny. And then my first exotic out of a regular Prison of Elders, get this, a regular Prison of Elders run was Hawkmoon. And the guys I was in a fire team with were just pissed.
I'm trying to think back to what my first one. Oh, you know what mine was Pocket Infinity.
Oh, no way.
That
That's
was my
legit.
first
the
exotic.
game. That was
The
Telesto
game breaker.
before Telesto.
Yeah, I mean that's like the game breaker on another level.
I mean, that's like the grandfather to Telesto.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? You could literally shut games down
yeah,
by using that gun.
yeah.
Yeah, so I think we're kind of at the natural end here. That's
Yeah.
pretty good.
We're excited about
So excited
Beyond
to be
Light.
back.
We're excited to be doing this again.
Yeah, this
There's
is
going to be
awesome.
a lot more consistent content. Hopefully you guys enjoy it. I mean, we enjoy it. Even if you guys hate it, it's still going to go up every week. So just if you don't like hearing our voices, you can go. If you love it, we're going to be super
appreciate
stoked.
the support, yeah.
We'll take any support anybody wants to give us. If you leave a comment, you're a superhero. But anyways, I'll do the stereotypical like and subscribe and hit the bell if you don't want to miss a video, but we'll be the same time every week, and you
All right,
probably
and
won't miss one.
And
but
I'll do our outro,
Yeah.
which is, remember, Guardians make their own fate.
they make their own fate. Thanks, everybody.